The 2012 Long Beach Grand Prix was the third race of the 2012 IZOD IndyCar season, and there were quite a few storylines entering the race. Chief among which was an announcement made by Chevy just days before the race itself, saying that all 11 of the Chevrolet-powered cars would have to change their engines, resulting in a 10-place grid penalty for all of them. This would come about after James Hinchcliffe suffered a catastrophic engine failure in a test at Sonoma. Chevy was easily the best engine at this point, as he led the manufacturer's championship. When it came to the teams, Team Penske was a dominant force so far this year, with Will Power and Helio Castroneves taking one win apiece, one pole position apiece, and Helio leading the Drivers' Championship. This trend of dominance would continue, with Ryan Briscoe being the fastest qualifier in Long Beach. But after the grid penalties were applied, the starting grid would look a lot like this. Reigning IndyCar champion Dario Franchitti would start from the pole. However, there was uncertainty about that, as he crashed in the morning warm-up. However, the damage was repairable, and the Scotsman would take his starting position alongside rookie Joseph Newgarden, who became the first rookie to start on the front row of an IndyCar race since Robert Dornbos at Kansas in 2009. Reigning Long Beach winner Mike Conway would be in 7th, while Alex Tagliani would start the race in 10th in his Lotus-powered Dallara. A mighty performance, considering how awful that Lotus engine really was. With a mixed-up grid and 85 laps ahead of him, the 26 drivers in Long Beach that day would put on an instant classic of a race. The start of the race would be quite chaotic, with Alex Tagliani pulling into the pits with the pace car. The Lotus engine had a lowered rev limiter if the engine wasn't up to temperature, and this was later revealed as to why Tagliani pulled in. Tagliani would not be alone in lap 1 trouble, with Joseph Newgarden's race coming to a quick and abrupt end. Newgarden originally slipped in behind Dario, but would then pull to the outside for an attempted overtake into turn 1. This would of course end poorly, with Newgarden overcooking it and then clipping the end of the tire barriers. It could have been the pass that led him to his first career win, but it would end up being the crash that brought out the first full course yellow of the day, with Dario in first, fellow rookie Simon Pagenaud in second, and Justin Wilson in third. The biggest mover in the race so far would be Simona Di Silvestro, who started in 17th and would make it all the way up to 12th. Chaos would make a return on the lap 5 restart, with Simon Pagenaud being caught napping, Graham Rahal, Scott Dixon, and Takuma Sato going 3 wide down Shoreline Drive, and Justin Wilson going from 3rd to 1st before turn 1. The chaos wouldn't end there, with Ryan Briscoe, Will Power, and Mike Conway giving each other some bumps down at the hairpin. By lap 8, strategy would already make its entrance into the race, with Marco Andretti pulling into the pits already. However, it is possible that this early call to come into the pits was made in thanks to contact between Marco and J.R. Hildebrand at the fountain, which would have given the number 26 RC Cola team some worries about a slow puncture. While the race behind was going on, Justin Wilson was enjoying leading a race for the first time since Toronto in 2010, pulling out a 3.5 second lead before lap 10. Right before the NBC coverage cut to commercial, Simon Pagenaud would take second place, with Franchitti dropping back like a rock in the laps ahead. He would drop back to 5th by lap 15, and would have likely lost even more spots if it wasn't for a battle between Charlie Kimball and Graham Rahal for P6. On lap 21, Sebastian Bourdais would run into the outside wall of turn 9, bringing out the full course yellow and starting a flurry of pit stops. The field would be significantly shuffled up, with the biggest loser being Pagenaud, who clipped a wheel leaving his box and would thus be penalized. For the lap 23 restart, it would be Takuma Sato at the front, with Franchitti in second and Chaos waiting in the wings. Franchitti would get another dreadful restart, dropping back to 4th place. However, his restart went a lot better than others. First, it was Alex Tagliani, who after rejoining the race 2 laps down from the issues he had at the start, would break his left rear suspension and front wing before pulling into the runoff area. There's no camera shot of what caused it, but in his post-wreck interview, he said it was EJ Vizo who pinched him into the wall. Then it was Rubens Barrichello, who would rear-end Mike Conway in the fountain section and break his front wing. About 5 seconds after Tagliani pulled off the track, the cameras would catch Marco Andretti airborne, sliding his way to the outside tire barriers of turn 8. What happened there was a battle with Graham Rahal gone wrong. Andretti looked to the inside, but Rahal would move over, then chop across Marco's nose. Andretti would ramp over Rahal's right rear, sending Marco into an aerial pirouette, and Rahal into the outside wall. Both drivers were out of the race with the damage they collected, but more importantly, everyone was alright. However, the restart incidents wouldn't end there, as one turn later, Catherine Legg would end up in the same tire barrier her teammate visited laps earlier. But unlike Bourdais, who was able to keep going, Catherine would be out of the race. The chaos wouldn't end there, as under the full course yellow that followed, Mike Conway, your defending Long Beach winner, would lose 4th gear, knocking him out of contention as well. Whether or not Barrichello's contact during the last restart caused this is unclear, and in my opinion, unlikely. Conway wouldn't be the last to run into mechanical issues, as on lap 27, Scott Dixon would run into issues in the straightaway between turns 7 and 8. Finally, on lap 30, we would get the race restarted, with Ryan Briscoe now in the lead and Dario Franchitti once again towards the front. Dario would get yet another bad start, before blocking Justin Wilson and then running into the back of Ryan Briscoe, breaking his front wing in the process. Thankfully for Briscoe, he wouldn't get a puncture, and would retain the lead until the next pit stops. At first, it was Ryan Briscoe and Helio Castroneves filing into the pits from 1st and 2nd, where their order would soon get flipped thanks to a slow stop for Briscoe. Simon Pagenaud would then take the lead, leading his first laps in an IndyCar race since the 2007 Champ Car race at Zolder. He'd continue to hold the lead until pitting on lap 47, and giving it to Takuma Sato. Before that happened, we would have more drivers dropping out of the race, including Mike Conway, whose gearbox trouble finally caught up to him, and also Alex Tagliani, who had actually rejoined the race after repairing his car. However, overheating issues would put him out for good. The only real points of action from Takuma's time leading the race would be a slight kerfuffle between Helio Castroneves, Ryan Briscoe, and EJ Vizo, who is essentially a rolling roadblock, with both Penske men getting very upset over the driver of the number 5 car. It would then be Ryan Hunter-Reay and then Simon Pagenaud in the lead. The strategy set up with 20 laps to go looked a bit like this. Will Power, who really wasn't in contention at all today, was in it for the long haul, trying to make the last 30 laps on 1 tank of gas. Simon Pagenaud in the lead was doing the opposite, driving like a bat out of hell, but he would certainly have to pit again. Power was only about a half a second a lap slower than Pagenaud, despite Power being on heavy fuel save mode. Pagenaud would then pull into the pits with 16 laps to go, giving Power the lead and starting a great chase. Pagenaud was up to a second a lap quicker, and was catching him quick. With lap traffic involved, the race came down to the last lap, but Pagenaud just wasn't close enough. By just 0.8 of a second, Will Power would win the 38th running of the Long Beach Grand Prix, with Simon Pagenaud a close but still mightily impressive second, and James Hinchcliffe rounding out the podium. It was heartbreak for Takuma Sato, who would have finished 3rd if it wasn't for a last lap spin in turn 7. After leading 16 laps on the day and looking like he had a surefire podium, Sato would finish a heart-wrenching 8th. The spin was brought on by Ryan Hunter-Reay, who clipped him and would get a 30-second penalty for avoidable contact as a result. There would be even more chaos on the last lap. Helio Castroneves would punt Barrichello into a spin, with Helio and Justin Wilson parking it on the outside and creating a roadblock. Castroneves would also get a 30-second penalty for avoidable contact. The roadblock wouldn't be fixed in time to stop Will Power from getting stuck himself, but that didn't stop him from getting out and celebrating. The 2012 Long Beach Grand Prix has got to be one of my all-time favorite races. It's got everything you'd want to have a race. Chaos, great racing, compelling strategy, and some funny moments sprinkled in too. The 2012 IndyCar season had some pretty good races, and in my opinion, this one is right up there. Thank you for watching, and have a great afternoon.